Hi guys, so Brexiteers have been desperately looking for some good news recently because of the doom and gloom that's taking place at the border. Many companies have been struggling at the moment to get their exports into the EU. The government have been basically telling some companies just set up abroad because they're because it will help you avoid a lot of the paperwork and VAT issues. So we needed some good news. Brexit needed some positive news. And Mike Graham and his guests seem to have some positive news when it comes to Nissan. Nissan are planning to maintain their facility, their factory in Sutherland. And this will create jobs. And this is perhaps something positive. So let's hear what Mike Graham and his guest had to say about this.
Without further ado, let's go to Stuart Jackson, founder, director and strategic counsel at Political Insight, former advisor, of course, to David Davis. Stuart, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Let's kick off with the good news. Nissan, the naysayers who told us, oh, look what's going to happen. All the car manufacturers are going to move out of England and Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, and we're going to have no business, and there's going to be terrible, terrible, awful trouble economically. Doesn't turn out quite to be like that.
No, and I think one of the depressing things, unedifying things that we saw a few weeks ago is some of the sort of hardcore Remainers on social media exulting at the idea that these so-called stupid gammons in Sunderland who work for Nissan were going to lose their jobs and their livelihood and voted for their families.
And they'd voted for their own demise, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact is that I always said that big business, including car makers, would have prepared for all eventualities, and that the backstop for them was always that a deal was better than no deal, and they would make it work. And Nissan have not just said they're going to keep the plant open; they're effectively saying it's going to be the exemplar, the template manufacturing plant for the whole of Europe. And I think that is a big vote of confidence for global Britain post Brexit.
I think.
Okay, so this seems to be a success. Nissan have decided to maintain the factory. They said it's going to be an exemplar for global Britain, for post Brexit Britain. So kudos to the Brexiteers. They have won this one, and I think there's nothing more to say about this. But there is, unfortunately. I'm sorry to be the fly in the ointment. But it seems to be, well, not as clear-cut as as the Brexiteers would like you to think it is. So I did a little bit of digging, and I found this report from the 4th of February 2019, so almost 2 years ago. It says here from Sky News, Nissan was offered up to £80 million for UK Brexit commitment. A letter reveals a series of pledges by ministers as Nissan pondered UK investment decisions in 2016 after the Leave win. So what happened was Nissan and many other companies didn't want the UK to vote to leave. They had, after the vote came in and Leave won, of course, Brexit won, companies went to, for example, the government ministers, and one company in particular, Nissan, said, look, if we're going to see problems on the border, if it's going to affect our just-in-time processes, we're going to have to reconsider our operations in the UK. And it seems, now I don't know if this is true or not, this is just a report, but it seems that the government gave Nissan £80 million in order to remain in the UK post-Brexit. Now, there are two ways of looking at this. You can look at it in a sense of, well, the UK government has invested in Nissan. They have given them £80 million to maintain this plant. And this plant is extremely important. It's very important for the local community. But this is basically a bribe. You're bribing a company to stay in the country. Now, you could say this is an investment, and we can discuss that, but you're using taxpayers' money to maintain this company. If you say, look, we're using taxpayers' money to keep these jobs in the country, then that's okay. But that's not a benefit of Brexit. You didn't have to spend, if Brexit didn't happen, you wouldn't have to spend this £80 million. Now, that's one part. But if you want to say this is an investment, this is keeping jobs in the country, this is very important for Sutherland, then that's okay. I can agree with that. We can discuss the merit of spending taxpayer money on private companies. And I did upload a video yesterday about how Eurostar provides a service, and we can argue whether it's a good idea to give taxpayer money to Eurostar to maintain this service. The other problem with this is that it may be in conflict with Boris Johnson's trade deal. Now, part of Boris Johnson's trade deal was the level playing field. This is the idea that if the UK support private companies in, with taxpayer money, is this in conflict with the agreement that Boris Johnson had with the EU? So the idea that it would give an unfair advantage to companies in the UK when they're trading with the rest of the EU. So the idea that maybe if Nissan are selling cars into the EU, Nissan has an unfair advantage because the UK taxpayer is helping maybe drive down the cost, or maybe helping them in some other way. This could be seen as a breach. I don't know, but this could be seen as a breach of the agreement. And if that's the case, then there is a risk that tariffs could be imposed by the EU on perhaps Nissan cars or cars in general, or on other products. So it seems that while Brexiteers are happy that Nissan are remaining in Britain, and I congratulate the UK government on doing this. If it's the right thing, I congratulate Nissan if they're creating jobs. That's great. I don't want people to suffer. But we can't get away from the fact that if this is money that the government are giving to a private company in order to stay post-Brexit, then this is not a benefit of Brexit. If Brexit didn't happen, you wouldn't have to give Nissan £80 million. So it seems that maybe the benefit that the Brexiteers are trying to sell to the public isn't really a benefit after all. It's actually a cost, and it's a cost of at least £80 million. Now, I have also heard other reports, although I don't have any data for it, but it could be the case that more than £80 million was spent. It could have been actually maybe double that. So if it's over £100 million, at what stage do you say, look, maybe we shouldn't be spending this money to prop up a company because of a Brexit vote? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?